I'm Ryan O'Doud, and you're listening to Ryan's Audiobooks on the Issues Magazine YouTube channel. Today we're starting with a new book, number 13, AESCH MEZAREPH, or Purifying Fire. Now, normally I wouldn't necessarily read introductions to books, but since it's a translation, I feel like I probably should. But I just want to give you an editor's note here up top. If you are not prepared to accept the full weight of the consequences and the power that is going to be offered to you in this book, you ought not to read, or in this case, listen to it. It's safer to you not to know it exists than to know it and not use it correctly. So that's sort of my sorcerer general warning. I'm going to double down on that. Take it seriously, because there is power in this book. So make up your mind, and if you do decide you want to know, then read on, or in this case, listen. One more note before we begin. This book contains many diagrams. This is primarily in audio format. However, I will be posting scans I made of these diagrams over the audiobook at the relevant times to those scans. I will also be pointing out that I am doing that while reading it. So if you want to look at the diagrams, they will be available directly on the video on the YouTube channel. So let's dig in. 13.1 AESCH MEZAREPH, or Purifying Fire. A chemico-kabbalistic treatise collected from the Kabbalah Denudata of Noor van Rosenroth by William Wynne Westcott. Preface by Sapir Aoud. The AESCH MEZAREPH, or AESCH MEZAREPH, is only known to persons of Western culture from the Latin translation found in a fragmentary condition in the work entitled Kabbalah Denudata by Noor van Rosenroth, published at Sulzbach in 1677 and 84. These volumes have as a subtitle, quote, The Transcendental, Metaphysical, and Theological Doctrines of the Hebrews, and they enshrine a Latin translation, with part of the Hebrew text and commentaries of the great Sohar or Zohar, quote, the Book of Splendor, which is the most famous of all the Hebrew mystical codices of the Kabbalah. 3 of the principal tracts of the Zohar are now familiar to English readers through the translation of my friend MacGregor Mather's his edition of the Book of Concealed Mystery, the Greater Holy Assembly, and the Lesser Holy Assembly, has obtained so great a circulation that I am emboldened to issue this volume, which exemplifies the Kabbalistic scheme of alchemy, as one of the series of Collectanea Hermetica. The AESCH MEZAREPH is still extant as a separate treatise in what is called the Hebrew language, but which is more properly Aramaic Chaldee. It was a companion volume to the Chaldean Book of Numbers, so often referred to by H.P. Blavatsky, and which is no longer to be procured, although I have reason to think that copies still exist in concealment. The first volume of Rosenroth's work consists entirely of a Kabbalistic lexicon. Upon the title page is inscribed, Apparatus in Librunt Sohar Nempe, Loci Communes Kabbalistici, Secundum Ordinum Alphabeticum, Consonati, qui lessici instar esse possant. Upon the main title page of the work, he describes this portion as collected from 5 sources. 1. Clavis ad Kabbalam antiquum, i.e., explicatio et ad debitas classis sephiristicas facta distributio omnium nominum et cognominum divinorum e libro pardes. 2. Liber sacar ora sen portae lucis. 3. Kabbalah recentior Rabbi Yitzchak Loria. 4. Index plurinarum materiam Kabbalisticarum in ipso libro sohar propositarum. 5. Compendium libri Kabbalistico Caimici AESCH MEZAREPH dicti de lapide philosophico. The AESCH MEZAREPH can be reconstructed from its fragments scattered through this lexicon, almost in its entirety. This work has been done by the lover of Philalethes, who published the English version of 1714. The present volume is a reprint of that English version, in its original form. Many corrections, however, have been made, and a few changes in spelling and diction introduced in order to avoid archaic forms, leading young students into difficulties. For instance, Kabbalah is written instead of Kabbalah, because the Hebrew word has only one B, and A represents the Hebrew letter He, better than the English A, which suggests that the word is spelled with the Hebrew Aleph. The Hebrew or Chaldee name of the treatise is spelled thus: AESCH-MEZAREPH. The lover of Philalethes of 1714 spelled this in English by diphthong, the AE put together, SCH, and in the second word he puts Z for Tzi, Zain for Zadi. This leads to confusion and error. The meaning of Ash or Asha is fire or a fire offering, and Metzareph is cleansing or purifying. The whole title refers to cleansing fires, as the mode by which pure gold was obtained in alchemy, by burning off the dross and so separating the pure from the impure. On the material plane, while the cleansing fire of trial is also a suitable simile for the purification and exaltation of the human soul on the plane of spiritual alchemy, the words AESCH MEZAREPH or AESCH MEZAREPH, as Rosenroth spells it, are found in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 2, where it is said that the messenger of the Lord is like a, quote, refiner's fire. There are in the book many references to other Old Hebrew and Chaldee works. Several of these are included in the great collection of tracts called the Talmud. Of this work there are 2 great forms, the Talmud of Babylon and that of Jerusalem. The former is more important and is more learned and mystical. Among the tracts referred to are Pirkei Aboth, Prqiabut, Sayings of the Fathers, Baba Kama, BBA-QMA, the First Gate, Baba Bathra, BBA-BTRA, the Latter Gate, Baba Metzia, BBA-MTIOA, the Middle Gate. The work Seker Ora mentioned by Rosenroth is the Hebrew Shor Ora, or Gate of Light, written by Rabbi Joseph Gikatia ben Abraham. The Liber Pardes of Rosenroth is the book Sefer Pardesh Rimonim, or Garden of Pomegranates. Its author was Rabbi Moses Cordovo or Ramak, who flourished until about 1550. The value of this treatise is so largely dependent upon the literal Kabbalah and the method of gematria, or the mutual conversation between letters and numbers, that it is wise to introduce here a table of the English letters attributed to the Hebrew letters and numbers. The system followed is that conventional one laid down in Win Wiscott on numbers, which has also been adopted in each of the previous volumes of the series of Collectanea Hermetica. The system is only an approximation to the true rendering of Hebrew into English, as, for example, 1 is adopted for Yod, but some authors use I or Y or J. And for Ayin, O is adopted, which has sometimes the force of AY, and O, and other times Gn, when used as a consonant. Now, right now, there's a diagram up showing all these correspondences between numbers and letters and their pronunciation. If you want to look at it, please do. I will read on. The special final letters are not used as numerals in the AESCH MEZAREPH. The AESCH MEZAREPH is almost entirely alchemical in its teachings, and is suggestive rather than explanatory in its words. The allegorical method of teaching runs through it, and the similes have to be kept carefully in mind, otherwise confusion will result. Several alchemic processes are set, but not in such a way that they could be carried out by a neophyte. Any attempt to do so would discover that something vital was missing at one stage or another. But although the AESCH MEZAREPH is not a manual of practical alchemy, yet an attentive study of its statements considered with accurate relation to the numerical allusions may give some true conclusions as to the materia and agents to be employed in the several forms of transmutation. The nominal Christian of narrow views will see this in this tract a confirmation of his opinion that alchemy is an unholy art and prompted by the evil one. And there's perhaps no book which contains more scripture verses referred to as illustrating the means and names of alchemy, so that perhaps such a one may point to this work as the brightest example of the assertion that, quote, the devil can quote even holy scripture to his purpose. Moving along. Contents. Chapter 1. Elisha, Naaman, the two systems of allocating the Sephiro to the alchemical principles and metals. 2. Gold, its 10 varieties, and the Kamiya of 6. 3. Silver, referred to the 10 Sephiro, its Kamiya of 9. Iron, the animal forms, its Kamiya of 5. 4. Tin is related to Jupiter, its Kamiya of 4. 5. Brass, its Decad, its Kamiya of 7 related to Venus. 6. Lead, Chokma, its Decad, its Kamiya of 3, Arion, the lions, Naaman, antimony. 7. Jarden, the river Jordan, its symbolism, Jasad, quicksilver, the Edomite wife, its Kamiya of 8. 8. June, the dove, Jarach, the moon, Gophrith, sulfur. And here we go. AESCH MEZAREPH, or Purifying Fire, Chapter 1. Elisha was a most notable prophet, an example of natural wisdom, a despiser of riches, as the history of the healing of Naaman sheweth, 2 Kings chapter 5 verse 16, and therefore truly rich. According to what is said in Pirkei Avot, who is rich? He that rejoiceth in his portion. 4. For so the true physician of impure metals hath not an outward show of riches, but is rather like the tohu of the first nature, empty and void. Which word is of equal number with the word Elisha, namely 4:11. For it is a very true saying in Baba Kama, page 71, column 2. The thing which causes riches, such as natural wisdom, is supplied instead of riches. Learn therefore to purify Naaman, coming from the north, out of Syria, and acknowledge the power of Jordan, which is as it were the Jardin, that is the river of judgment flowing out of the north. And remember that which is said in Baba Bathra, page 25, column 2, that he will become wise, let him live in the south, and that will grow rich, let him turn himself towards the north. Although in the same place Rabbi Joshua ben Levi says, let him live always in the south, for whilst he becomes wise, at the same time he becomes rich. Quote, length of days is in her right hand, and in her left riches and honor. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 16. So thou wilt not desire other riches. But know that the mysteries of this wisdom differ not from the superior mysteries of the Kabbalah. For such as is the consideration of the predicaments in holiness, the same is also in impurity, and the same Sephiroth which are in Atziluth, the same are in Asaya. Yea, the same in that kingdom, which is commonly called the mineral kingdom, although their excellency is always greater upon the spiritual plane. Therefore the metallic root here possesseth the place of Kether, which hath an occult nature, involved in great obscurity, and from which all metals have their origin, even as the nature of Kether is hidden, and the other Sephiroth flow from thence. Lead hath the place of Chokmah, because Chokmah immediately proceeds from Kether, as it immediately comes from the metallic root. In enigmatic similes, it is called the, quote, father of the following natures. Tin possesseth the place of Bina, showing age by its grayness, and shadowing forth severity and judicial rigor by its crackling. Silver is placed under the classis of Shasit by all the masters of the Kabbalah, chiefly for its color and use. Thus far the white natures, now follow the red. Gold is placed under Geburah, according to the most common opinion of the Kabbalists. Job in chapter 37 verse 22 also tells us that gold cometh from the north, not only for its color, but for the sake of its heat and splendor. Heat and sulfur. Iron is referred to Tifereth, for he is like a man of war, according to Exodus chapter 15 verse 2, and hath the name of Siranpin from his swift anger, according to Psalm 2 verse, kiss the sun lest he be angry. Netzach and Hod are the two median places of the body, in the seminal receptacles, and refer to the hermaphroditic brass. So also the two pillars of the Temple of Solomon, referring to these two Sephiroth, were made of brass. 1 Kings chapter 7 verse 15. Jasid is argent vive. To this the name living is characteristically given, and this living water is in every case the foundation of all nature and of the metallic art. But the true medicine of metals referred to Malkuth for many reasons, because it represents the rest of the natures under the metamorphoses of gold and silver, right and left, judgment and mercy, concerning which we will speak more largely elsewhere. Thus I have delivered to thee the key to unlock many secret gates, and have opened the door to the inmost adita of nature. But if anyone hath placed those things in another order, I shall not contend with him, inasmuch as all systems tend to the one truth. For it may be said, the three supernals are the three fountains of metallic things. The thick water is Kether, salt is Chokmah, and sulfur is Bina, for known reasons. And so the seven inferior will represent the seven metals, namely Gedula and Geburah, silver and gold, Tifereth, iron, Netzach and Hod, tin and copper. Jesud, lead, and Malkuth will be the metallic woman, and the Luna of the wise men, and the field into which the seeds of secret minerals ought to be cast. That is the water of gold, as this name Metzahab occurs. Genesis chapter 36, verse 39. But know, my son, that such mysteries are hid in these things, as no tongue may be permitted to utter. But I will not offend any more with my tongue, but will keep my mouth with a bridle. Psalm 39, verse 2. Chapter 2. In metallic things, Geburah is the class to which gold is referred, which has again its decad, i.e. 10 orders or degrees, so that one chetham, that is pure fine gold, is referred to the kether thereof, which Canticles, chapter 5, verse 11, is referred to the head. 2 batsor, gold is referred to chorkna, as though laid up in strongholds, Job chapter 22, verse 24, 25, and chapter 36, verse 19. 3 charuts, Proverbs chapter 8, verse 10 is referred to bina, from the digging of it, which name belongs to the feminine gender. 4 zahab shachut, that is fine and drawn gold, to 2 Chronicles chapter 9, verse 15, because it hath the analogy to the thread of chesed. 5 zahab alone is referred to Geborah, because gold cometh from the north, Job chapter 37, verse 22. 6 paz and zahad mufaz are referred to Tifereth, 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 18, Psalm chapter 21, verse 9 and 19, verse 11, and Daniel chapter 10, verse 5. For so Tifereth and Malkuth are compounded in the golden throne. 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 18. Also when it is called a vessel of gold, Job chapter 28, verse 17, a crown of gold. Psalm 21, verse 3, bases of gold. Canticles chapter 5, verse 15. 7. Zahab Sagur is referred to Netzach, that is gold shut up. 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 20, 21. Job, chapter 28, verse 15, to wit, bring forth seed. 8. Zahab, Paravajim, is referred to Hod. 2 Chronicles, chapter 3, verse 6. 1 Kings, chapter 6, verse 20, from its likeness to the blood of young bullocks, for this kind is red at the left hand. 9. Zahab Tob is referred to Jesud, that is good gold. Genesis chapter 2, verse 12, for this kind is called good after the manner of good man. 10. But Zahab Ophir is referred to Malkuth, Job chapter 22, verse 24, for it is the name of a land or earth as called so from ashes. See also 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verse 4. And now concerning the name Zahab, I will lead thee into the cave of the hidden matter, and will show thee the treasuries of Solomon mentioned in Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 13, the perfection of stones, Exodus chapter 26, verse 6. Come see, there are many places to which gold is referred, namely Geborah and Bina, and other special places where the species of gold are deposed by one thus by another other ways. But now I represent to thee the nature of gold in Tiphereth. Neither can you object out of the Zohar or Tikkunim, for know that in this place ought to be understood Tifereth of the measure or degree of Geborah, and it is a great mystery because Tifereth commonly contains iron under it, from whence we seek gold. This is the soul or son of nature and art, whose lesser numbers is 10, the symbol of all perfection, which number by gematria also shows you the lesser number of Tifereth likewise, the word atah belonging in the same in its lesser computation. Mingle therefore iron and clay, Daniel chapter 2, verse 33, and thou shalt have the foundation of gold. This is that gold to which is attributed the notion of tetragrammaton, Exodus chapter 32, verse 5, in the history of the calf, which was to be ground to powder and thrown upon the waters, verse 20, whence you shall see 7 kinds of gold immediately following one another in the work. First, simple gold, which is called zahab barely, for it is truly gold, though not digged out of the earth, nor destroyed by the violence of the fire, but living, rising out of the waters, sometimes of a black, sometimes of a yellowish, and often like a peacock's color, going back of its own accord in the waters, and this may be called zahab sabah, as though you should say sabi, the gold of captivity, because it is newly captured and shut up in its prison, where it keeps a fast of 40 days and nights, that you know not what is become of it. Exodus chapter 32, verse 1, for there is then no external appearance, even as Moses was hidden, and they knew not what had become of him. Secondly, it becomes Zahab Shakuth, as though killed and slain, for it dies, and its corpse putrefies and grows black. Then it is under judgment, and the shells rule it, and the powers of the name of 42 letters fulfill their time upon it. Thirdly, but then follows Zahab Orphir, as though you should say Ifar, for it is the color of ashes, which time the 22 letters of the alphabet will determine for you. Fourthly, it becomes Zahab Tob, because it is good to color, though not of the color of gold, but silver. This may be called Chetham, for it may be so called according to Lamentations chapter 4, verse 1. How shall gold be colored with redness in Hashithem, Hatob, i.e. good silver, be changed? And thence is referred that text in Job chapter 2:24, and put it upon Orphir. He would have said Orphiret. Lead, batsar, silver, this is the white gold. For from hence you shall have silver, and to silver when it shall be in the state of a stone. Add Nashlim, rivers of metallic waters, from whence you shall have Ophir, that is gold of Ophir, which was accounted the best. Now you shall have the number of the great name Ahijah, for thou shalt possess after 21 days these things. If thou wilt now open thy treasure, open it, but it shalt yet only give silver as stones. 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 27. But if thou desire more, let thy gold be. Fifthly, Zahab Sagir, i.e. shut up gold, let it remain in the prison, in the place of its maturation, in the bowels of the earth of the wise men all the time of the decumbiture of Ezekiel, chapter 4, verse 6. And thy gold shall become the sixth, Jarak rock, i.e. yellow gold, like Zahab Parvajim. These are the 30 men, Judges chapter 14, verse 19, whom Samson slew. For this being done, seventhly, your gold will be Paz and Murphaz and Uphaz, being strengthened to conquer and color all unperfect metals. That is the chartreuse, that sharp-pointed or penetrating thing, charutz, which Job chapter 41, verse 30 says ought to be cast upon clay, i.e. imperfect metals. That hath Kohach power to produce gold, for Tit and Kohach are of equal numbers. And make it to boil like a deep pot, a sea of thick metallic waters, and it shall become like a vessel of paint. But after that it shall make the path to shine, verses 31 through 32. Blessed be the name of the glory of his kingdom forever and ever. I write these things, I the insignificant one, according to my slender knowledge, who have earnestly sought out secret things to the healing of all creatures. But that which moved me thereto is spoken in Sohar Haisinu, page 145, caption 580, concerning the office of a physician, that I should not desist from the good and right way until I should find the best medicine. And the words are these. It is written, Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 10, He found him in desert lands and in the waste howling wilderness. He led him to find the causes and made him understand and kept him as the apple of his eye. and rightly because he had compelled all the courtesies to serve him. Thus far was it written in the book of Cartanius the physician. And then he drew from this text various observations necessary to a wise physician about the cure of the patient lying in the chamber of sickness. Genesis chapter 39, verse 20, where the captives of the king may worship the Lord of the world. For when a prudent physician comes, he finds him in the land of the desert, and in the wilderness of the howling solitude, which are as the diseases afflicting him, and finds him in the captivity of the king. Here it may be objected that it is not lawful to cure him, because the Holy One, who is blessed forever, hath caused him to be ill, and as if a captive. But this is not so, for David says, Psalm 41, verse 2, quote, Blessed is he who considereth the curing of the poor. The Lord will preserve him and keep him alive. For he is poor who lies in the house of sickness, and if the physician be wise, that Holy One who is blessed forever loads him with blessings, in reference to him whom he cures. That physician finds him in the land of the desert, that is ill, etc. And what is to be done for him? Rabbi Eliezer hath told us, Hitherto we have heard nothing of that physician, nor of his book, except that once a certain merchant told me that he heard his father say that in his time there was a certain physician who, having seen a patient, presently said, This one will live and that one will die, and that it was reported of him that he was a just and true man, fearing sin, and that if any man could not procure those things he needed, he would buy them for him and freely supply his necessities, and that it was said there was not so nice a man in the whole world, and that he did more with his prayers than with his hands. And when we suppose this man to be the very same physician, the merchant made reply, Certainly his book is in my hands, having been left to me as an inheritance by my father. And all the sayings of the book are hidden in the mystery of the law, and in it we do find profound secrets in many medicines, which notwithstanding is not lawful to apply to any, except to him that feared sin. Rabbi Eliezer said, Lend it to me. He replied, I will, so as to show you the power of the sacred light. And you have heard, said Rabbi Eliezer, that book was in my hands 12 months, and we found in it sublime and precious lights, etc. And we have in it various sorts of medicines, ordered according to the prescriptions of the law, and the profound secrets, etc. And we said, Blessed be the holy and merciful one who bestoweth a share of wisdom upon men from the supernal wisdom. Thus far here. These things moved me to seek the like good and secret books. And from the good hand of my God I found that which I now teach to thee. And the kami of this metal is altogether wonderful, for it consists of 6 times 6 partitions, everywhere wonderfully showing the virtue of the letter Vau related to Tifereth, and all the columns and lines as well from the bottom to the top, as from the right to the left, and from one angle to another, gave the same sum, and thou mayest vary the same ad infinitum. And the various totals always observe this principle, that their lesser number is always 3, 9, or 6, and again 3, 9, or 6, and so on, concerning which I could reveal many things to thee. Now I add this example, which shows as the total of a line the number 216 of RJ, our wonderful lion, 14 times, which is the name Zahab, gold. Compute and be rich. And right now you'll see, if you look at the video, there are 2 different magic squares diagrams that correspond to the things that this was just saying. Chapter 2. Chesef. Silver is referred to Gedula on account of its whiteness, which denotes mercy and pity. In Raja Meh, it is said that by 50 silver shekels, Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 29, is understood Bina, understanding. But when from 50 portals it inclines to the side of Gedula, see the book Pardes Rimonim, Track 23, Chapter 11. Chesif, silver and metallic things, Rabbi Mordecai writes thus: Let the red menorah of silver be taken, let it be ground very finely. Add 1.5 ounces of the calx of Luna to 6 ounces of it. Let it be placed in a sand bath in a vial sealed. Let there be given a small fire for the first 8 days, lest its radical humidity be burnt up. The second week 1 degree stronger, and the third yet stronger, and on the fourth that the sand may not be red hot, but so that when water is dropped upon it, it may hiss. Then on the top of the glass thou shalt have a white matter, which is the materia prima, or tinging arsenic, being the living water of metals, which all philosophers call dry water, or their vinegar. Let this be purified thus. Take of the crystalline matter sublimed, let it be ground upon a marble, with an equal part of calx of Luna, and let it be put into a vial sealed, and set in a sand bath again. The first 2 hours with a gentle fire, the second with a stronger, and the third with one yet more violent, and increase till the sand will hiss, and our arsenic will be sublimed again, the starry beams being sent forth. And since a quantity of this is required, thou shalt augment it thus. Take 6 ounces of this, and 1.5 ounces of the most pure filings of Luna, and make an amalgama, and let them be digested in a vial of hot ashes, till all the Luna be dissolved and converted into artisanical water. Take 1.5 ounces of this spirit, and place it in a closed vial. Let this be put into hot ashes, and it will ascend and descend, which heat continue till it leaves off sweating, and it lies at the bottom of the color of ashes. Thus the matter is dissolved and putrefied. Take 1 part of this cinereous matter, and 1/2 part of the aforesaid water. Let them be mixed and sweat in the glass as before, which will happen in about 8 days. When the cinereous earth shall begin to wax white, take it out and let it be imbibed with 5 washings of its lunar water, and digest it as before. Let it be imbibed the 3rd time with 5 ounces of the same water, and coagulated as before for 8 days. The 4th imbibition requires 7 ounces of the lunar water, and the sweating being ended, this preparation is finished. Now for the white work. Take 21 drachms of this white earth, 14 drachms of the lunar water, 10 drachms of calcix of the most pure Luna. Mix them upon a marble slab and commit them to coagulation, till they grow hard. Imbibe it with 3 parts of its own water, till it hath drank up this portion, and repeat that so often till it flow in a copper plate made red hot, without smoke. And then thou shalt have the tincture for the white, which thou mayest increase by the means aforesaid. For the red you must use calx of Sol in a stronger fire, and 'tis a work of about 4 months. Thus this author. Let this be compared with the writing of the Arab philosopher Geber, where he writes very fully of the arsenical matter. Chesed in the metallic kingdom is Luna, Nemine contradicenti, and so the lesser number of Gedula is as that of Sama or Sima. Silver is referred to in Proverbs chapter 16, verse 16, and chapter 17, verse 3, and also Psalm 12, verse 7, and Job chapter 28, verse 1. Silver is also found allotted to each one of the Sephirotic decad. Thus see the chapter 38 of Exodus, verses 17 and 19, where silver forms the chapitiers of the pillars representing Cather, or the summit, while silver is compared with chokma in Proverbs chapter 2, verses 4, and to bina in Proverbs chapter 16, verse 16. Gedula is manifest out of the history of Abraham, where silver is always preferred. Genesis chapter 13, verse 2, and chapter 23, verse 15, 16, and chapter 24, verse 35 through 3. Geburah is showed when silver is put in the fire, Proverbs chapter 17, verse 3, and Numbers chapter 31, verse 21, Psalm 66, verse 10, Proverbs chapter 27, verse 21, Isaiah chapter 48, verse 10, Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 22, Zechariah chapter 13, verse 9, Malachi chapter 3, verse 3. Tifereth is the breast of the statue in Daniel chapter 2, verse 32. Netzach is the vein of silver in Job chapter 28, verse 1. Hod are the silver trumpets, Numbers chapter 10, verse 2. Jased is found in Proverbs chapter 10, verse 20, and Malkuth in Psalm 12, verse 6. The kamiya of this metal represents 9 times 9 squares, showing the same sum 20 times, shown in 369, and it's in its lesser number 9, which all the variations show, though they should be 1,000 times 1,000, because this chesed, which is mercy, endureth forever. Psalm 136, verse 1. And you should see in the video, this is editor's note, you should see in the video another magic square, which is a diagram, which is corresponding to the stuff I'm telling you right now. Barzol, iron, in the natural science. This metal is the middle line reaching from one extreme to the other. This is that male and bridegroom without whom the virgin is not impregnated. This is that sole sun or gold of the wise men without whom the moon will always be in darkness. He that knows his rays works in the day, others grope in the night. Parzala, whose lesser number is 12, is of the same account as the name of that bloody animal Dob, a bear whose number is 12 also. And this is that mystical thing which is written in Daniel chapter 7 and 5. Quote, "And behold, another beast, a second like unto a bear, stood on its one side, and it had 3 ribs standing out in its mouth between its teeth. And thus they said unto it, Arise, eat much flesh." The meaning is that in order to constitute the metallic kingdom in the second place, iron is to be taken, in whose 3-fold scoria is thrust out from within its whitish nature. Let him eat batsor, i.e. flesh, whose lesser number is 7, that is puck, that is stebium, whose lesser number in like manner is 7. And indeed much flesh, because the proportion of this is greater than of that, and indeed such a proportion as puck, that is 106, bears to Barzel 239. Such shall be the proportion of iron to antimony. But understand the flesh of the lion, which is the first animal, whose eagle's wings, in so much as is very volatile in him, shall be drawn out. And it shall be lifted up, and by purifying be separated from its earth or scoria, and it will stand on its feet. That is, it shall get its consistency in a cone like a man erect, and with a shining countenance like Moses. For Enos and Moses, in full writing by Gematria, each give 351. And the heart of iron, for the heart Leb and iron Barzol in their least number both give 5. Mineral, i.e. the Tephreth of man, mineral shall be given to it. For even the name of the star belonging to this is Edom, which hath the connotation of a red man. These things being done, the third beast ought to be taken, which is as it were a leopard, i.e. water not wetting. The garden of the wise man, for Nimrah a leopard, and Jardine in their lesser number, make the same sun, namely 12. Same sum, Such also is the quickness of this water, that it is not unlike a leopard upon that account. And he shall have 4 wings of a bird upon his back. The 4 wings are 2 birds, which exasperate this beast with their feathers, to the intent he may enter and fight with the bear and lion. although of himself he be volatile and biting enough, and venomous like a winged serpent and basilisk. And the beast had 4 heads, in which words are understood 4 natures lurking in his composition, i.e., white, red, green, and watery. And power was given him over the other beasts, i.e., the lion and the bear, that he may extract their gluten or blood. From all these are made 1/4 beast in the 7th verse, which is frightful, terrible, and very strong. For it casts forth so great fumes that at some times there is peril of death if he be handled at undue time and place. And he hath great teeth of iron, because this is one of the parts and materials compounding it, eating and breaking himself and others to pieces, and treading the residue under his feet, that is, of a nature so violent, that by many bruisings and tramplings he is as it were tamed at length. And he had 10 horns, because he hath the nature of all the metallic numbers. A little horn, for out of this is extracted the young king, who hath the nature of Tifereth, that of a man, but of the nature or part of Geburah, for it is that gold which predominates in the work of the wise men. Thus far the preparatories. And now the beast is to be killed, and his body to be destroyed, and delivered up to the fire to be burned, etc. For now follows the regimen of the fire, concerning which elsewhere. The sword of the illustrious Naaman is also related to the word barzel. Lancia. In the study of the metallic natures, the history of Phineas, Numbers chapter 25, verse 7, belongs to this place. By the fornicators are understood the masculine arsenical sulfur and the feminine dry water unduly mixed together in the mineral. By the spear of Phineas is meant the force of iron acting upon the matter to cleanse it of dross, by which iron not only is the arsenical sulfur killed, but also the woman herself is at length mortified, so that the miracle of Phineas may be fitly applied here. See also the Targum of this place, i.e. Numbers chapter 25, verse 7. For the nature of iron is wonderful, as its kamia, whose lines add up to 65 each way, shows. It is here given. The number 5 and its square, i.e. 25, denote the feminine nature which is corrected by this metal. And if you look at the video, editor's note, if you look at the video, you'll see that there's another magic square that corresponds to what we've been talking about. Chapter 5. Ode, in the wisdom of nature, is the classis of brass. For the color expresses the nature of Geburah, which this Sephirah contains, and the use of brass was for instruments of praise and music. 1 Chronicles chapter 15, verse 19, quote, and brazen bows were of use in war. 2 Samuel chapter 22, verse 35, Job chapter 20, verse 24, and the like Samuel chapter 17, verse 5, 6, and 38. But as Hod is encompassed with a serpent, so Nachuzaleth, brass of the same root with a nachas, a serpent. The 70 talents of brass of the oblation, Exodus chapter 38, verse 29, represent 70 princes. For about this place is the degree of prophetical representation, as from the root naches comes nacheshim, enchantments, Numbers chapter 23, verse 23, and chapter 21, verse 1. But he that will be curious may find that Hod has a special decad. So also in the history of brass from the law he may easily gather a decad. For may not that oblation in general form which afterwards vessels were made for the tabernacle, Exodus chapter 38, verse 29, be referred to Cather, since all the other degrees spring from this? Doth not the laver of brass, Exodus chapter 30, verse 18, show the nature of chokmah, from which an influx is let down to all the inferiors? But the basis thereof, which also was of brass, is bina, for chokmah resides therein. Afterwards, the brazen altar, Exodus chapter 27, verse 2, with its furniture, represents the two extremes, for the two bars in the same place were covered over with brass, and are, as it were, the two arms, Gedula and Geburah. The body of the altar itself, Tifereth. The 4 rings of brass to the right and left are Netzach and Hod. And the brazen net, which was instead of a foundation, is Jased. And if you say that the altar was to be referred to Malkuth, according to the most common opinion, which altar may represent the notion of a woman, I answer, quote, "'Tis true according to the general distribution of the tabernacle and temple. But amongst the special classes of brass were all things before inclined to the female, and also to Tifereth, the notion of the male will not be so remote. For there are yet Adni brazen bases, Exodus chapter 26 verse 37, and chapter 27 verse 10, which being as it were the bottom of the tabernacle, have congruously enough the nature of Malkuth. He that would here trace these mysteries more largely might easily prolong his discourse. But a wise man will, in short, understand the foundation. The wonderful kamea belonging to the classis of brass contains 7 times 7 squares, and the sum of each line, whether horizontal, vertical, or diagonal, are equal to each other and to Zepha. And you will, editor's note, you will see another magic square diagram placed on the video. As for example, here all the columns make the same Zepha 175, as is to be seen above. For the first column to the right, 429, etc., makes 175, and so the rest to the last towards the left. After the same manner, note the uppermost corner 22, where is the mystery of the 22 letters, 47, etc., and ending with the number 4. Where note the mystery of the tetragrammaton, and so all to the bottom. Lastly, crosswise from the angle between the east and south to the angle between the west and north, 4, 11, 18, etc., are 175, and from the angle between the east and the north to the angle between the west and the south, as can be seen, 22, 23, 24, etc., make all 175. Therefore contemplate these things, and thou shalt see an abyss of profundity. Unless thou hast rather allude to those coverings in which brass was used. Exodus chapter 27, verse 2, 6, etc. So if number 1 be omitted, and you begin with line 2, there meets you the sum botzats, 1 Samuel chapter 14, verses 4, writ defectively. If you begin with line 3, you will have the like sum 5 and then 203, and so they ascend, exceeding one another by 7. But if by a skip you depose the numbers 1, 3, and 5, and 1 and 7 and 9, etc., then begin with which you will observe the same proportion. Also 1 and 4 and 7 and 10 and 13, etc. Also 1 and 5 and 9 and 13. This septenary net will always from every face represent the same sum, whose farther use I should be able to open elsewhere. Nechusheth, brass. See Zohar Pakud, 103, 410, etc., and see Hod as above. Amongst the planets Noga, Venus corresponds to it, a necessary instrument to promote the metallic splendor. Yet it hath more the part of a male than female. For do not deceive thyself to believe a white splendor is promised to thee, as the word Nogath infers. But Hod ought to receive a Geburic influence, and gives it also. Oh, how great is this mystery! Learn therefore to lift the serpent up on high, which is called Nechushtan. 2 Kings chapter 18, verse 4, if thou wouldst cure infirm natures after the example of Moses. Chapter 6. Chokhmah in the metallic doctrine is the sapphira of lead, or primordial salt in which the lead of the wise men lies hid. But how is so high a place attributed to lead, which is so ignoble a metal, and of which there is so seldom mention made in the Scripture? But here lies wisdom. Its several degrees are kept very secret, hence there is very little mention of it. But yet here will not be wanting examples of this particular Sephiroth. For may not that which in Zechariah chapter 5 verse 7 is called a lifted up talent of lead, and brought from the deep, represent the grade of Cather? And that which in the same chapter, volume 8, is spoken concerning the stone of lead, it sets before itself the letter Jod, which is Chokhmah. Then Ezekiel chapter 27 verse 12, lead is referred to the place of the congregation, of which type is Bina. In Amos chapter 7 verse 7, Anak, a leaden plummet, denotes the thread of Chesed. For Anak with the whole word hath 72 the number of Chesed. But in Numbers chapter 31 verse 22, lead is reckoned amongst those things which can abide the fire, will be referred to Geburah. But Job chapter 19 verse 24, graven with an iron pen and lead, are joined together, from whence you have Tifereth. But in Ezekiel chapter 22 verse 18-20, there is the furnace of trial or of grace, or furnace of judgment, in which also is put lead, hence Netzach and Hod, for thence ought to flow a river of silver. In Jeremiah chapter 6 verse 29, the furnace of probation, out of which by the means of lead good silver is looked for. Is not the just man and he that justifies Jesed, i.e. the foundation? But if you seek the bottom of the sea, look upon Exodus chapter 15 verse 10, where the notion of Malkuth will occur. This is that Red Sea, out of which the salt of wisdom is extracted, and through which the ships of Solomon fetched gold. Ophereth in the doctrine of natural things is referred to wisdom, for a great treasure of wisdom lies hid here. And hither is referred the quotation Proverbs chapter 3 verse 19. The Lord in wisdom hath founded the earth. I say the earth, concerning which Job speaks. Chapter 28 verse 6, which hath dust of gold. Where take notice of the world Ophereth, i.e. lead. This lead by a mystical name is called Chol, because therein lies the system of the whole universe. For its figure has below a circle the sign of universal perfection, and over the circle is a cross formed of 4 daliths, whose angles meet in one point. So you may know that all quaternary lies here. Quaternity lies here, and the quaternions of quaternity, whether you refer to the elements or cortices or letters or worlds. And in this lead of the wise men 4 elements lie hid, i.e. fire, or the sulfur of the philosophers, air, the separator of the waters, the dry water, and the earth of the wonderful salt. There are also hid in it the 4 cortices described in Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 4. For in the preparation of it there will occur to thee the whirlwind, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself. And at length the desired splendor breaks forth. Also the natural sapphira of the tetragrammaton and the metal thereof occurs to thee here. And you will naturally travel through the 4 worlds in the very labor. When after the faction and formation laborious enough, there will appear the wonderful creation, after which thou shalt have the emanation of the desired natural light. And note that the word Chol, whose number is 50 multiplied by 15, according to the number of the sacred characteristic name in the Sapphira of Wisdom, will produce the number of Ophereth, i.e. 750. Also the kamia of the metal is also wonderful, in which the number 15, namely the name Jah, i.e. a form of Jehovah, in a magic square of 9 squares, because we are in the 9th Sephira, throughout all its columns shows itself after this manner. Editor's note: you will see, if you look at the video, another magic square diagram relevant to what we've been talking about. The planet Shabtai, denominated from rest, because in this principle is offered the most desired rest. And if you shall compute the words Lahab Shabtai, i.e. the point or edge of Saturn, there will arise the number of the name Ophereth, namely lead. Arja, a lion in natural science, is variously applied. For there is Gur Ija, a lion's whelp, as Jacob speaks in Genesis chapter 49, verse 9. That word Gur, a whelp, numbers 209, and if you add the whole word in the place of a unit, it will be 210, which is the number of the word Naaman, the Syrian, the general of the army of the king of Aram, 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1, by whom is allegorically to be understood the matter of the metallic medicine, to be purified 7 times in Jordan, which many men, studious in metallic affairs, call Gor. And that thou mayest the better understand this matter, take the lesser number of this word Naaman, which is 21. This is equal to the number of the name of Cather, which is Ahijah, 21. 3. The number of Naaman, which with the whole world is 211, to which another name of the line is equal, Ari, 211. 4. And so also Arja, a lion, is equal in number to the first word of that wonderful history, 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1, quote, and Naaman, etc., for this constitutes 216. 5. Moreover, the word Kathir, a young lion, and Jerik agree also in their number, for each of them give 310. And now it is known in metallic mysteries that at the very entrance we meet the enigma of the lion of green growth, which we call the green lion, which I pray thee do not think is so called from any other cause but its color. For unless thy matter shall be green not only in that intermediate state before 'tis reduced into water, and also after the water of gold is made of it, remember that this universal dry process must be amended. 6. The other names of lions are Lebi, which is a lioness, according to Job chapter 4, verse 11. The whelps of the lioness shall separate themselves. Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 2. Thy mother being a lioness lay amongst the lions. Nahum chapter 2, verse 12. A lioness is also there. Verse 13. The lion did strangle them for his lioness. Also Lish, which denotes a fierce lion with long straight hair, as found in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 30. These two names, in their lesser numbers, each contain a septenary, for Lebi numbers 43, which gives 7, and Lish 340, which gives 7 also. To these the name Puck Tibium is equal, whose sum is 106, and its lesser number is 7, than which nothing could be more plain, especially if the surname of the mineral be considered when it is called the hairy servant, or he with long hair, or ruddy-haired, with many like names given to it. 7. There is yet another name of a lion, according to the masters of the Sanhedrim, in chapters 11, following 95, column 1, i.e. Shachaz, which also the Targum uses. In Psalm 17, verse 12, its number is 398, and its lesser number is 2. And the Chaldaic word Zadida shews the same lesser number 2, being used in Targum, 2 Kings chapter 30, verse 30, Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 30, instead of the Hebrew word puck, which is antimony, for its sum is 109, which together with the whole word is 110, and its lesser number 2. 8. At length also there meets us the name of the black lion, to wit, Shakal, whose number is 338 and its lesser number 5. Now take the least number of the word Naaman, 210, which is 3, and the least number of the Chaldaic word Parzal, iron, which is 2, and you will have 5, the black lion. 9. Zahab, gold, is called by the name red lion, and so not only the least numbers of the names Lebi and Lish made 14, which number Zahab hath, But also the least number of the word zahab is 5, as I said, but now to be equal to shakal. But under this notion is to be understood gold, either already mortified, or now at length drawn from the minds of the wise men, black in color, but red in potency. Chapter 7. Jardin denotes a mineral water, useful in the cleansing of metals and leprous minerals. But this water flows from two sources, whereof one is called Jaor, i.e. a fluid, having the nature of the right hand and very bountiful. The other is called Dan, righteous and of a sharp nature. But it flows through the salt sea, which ought to be observed, and at length is thought to be mixed with the Red Sea, which is sulphurous matter, masculine and known to all true artists. But know thou that the name Zakau, i.e. purity, being multiplied by 8, the number of Jesed produces the number Seder, i.e. order, which is 264, which number is also contained in the word Jardin. Thus you may remember that at least 8 orders of purification are required before the true purity follows. Jesed in natural things contains under itself quicksilver, because this metal is the foundation of the whole art of transmutation. And as the name of El doth insinuate the nature of silver, because both belong to the classes of Chesed, but here to that Chesed which is inferior, as in Jesed, so the name of El Chai is the same as it were Chesif Chai, i.e. quicksilver. And so Kokab, a star, is the name of the planet under whose government this matter is, with the whole word is 49, which same is the number of El Chai. But remember that all quicksilver doth not conduce to this work, because the sort of it differs from as flax from hemp or silk. Then you would work on hemp to no purpose to make it receive the tenuity and splendor of fine flax. And there are some that think it a sign of legitimate water, it being mixed with gold, it presently ferments. But the common liquid mercury precipitated by lead performs this, and what will it do? Verily I tell thee, there is no sign of a true mercury but this, that in a due heat it invests itself with a catecula, which is the purest refined gold, and that in a little space of time, yea, in one night. That is that which, not without a mystery, is called Kokab, a star, because according to the natural Kabbalah, Numbers chapter 24, verse 17, out of the metal Jacob comes a star. Or in plain language, the shapes of rods and branches arise. And from this star flows this influence of which we speak. This argent vivre in the Gematria Tractate Gittin, chapter 7, page 69, is called Espherica, i.e. spherical water, because it flows from the mundane sphere. And in Genesis chapter 36, verse 39, it is called Mehetabel, as though it were Mehathbula, by changing the order of the letters, i.e. the water of immersion, because the king is immerged in them to be cleansed. Or as though it were the El Hatob, by a like change of letters, the waters of the good El, or of living silver, for life and good have equal power, as death and evil have the same. This is called the daughter of Metrid, that is, as the Targum teaches, the gold maker, laboring with daily weariness. For this water flows not out of the earth, nor is it digged out of the mine, but is produced and perfected with great labor and much diligence. This wife or female is also called Me Zahab, the waters of gold, or such a water as sends forth gold. If the artist be betrothed to her, he will beget a daughter, who will be the water of the royal bath. Although some would have this bride to be the waters that are made out of gold, which bride, notwithstanding, poor men leave to be espoused by great men. The husband of Mehetabel is that Edomite king and king of redness, who is called Hadar, glorious, as in the beauty of the metallic kingdom, which is gold. Daniel chapter 11, verses 20-29. But such gold as may be referred to Tifereth, for Hadar represents 209, which number also the tetragrammaton multiplied by 8 produces, which is the number of circumcision, and Jaset, if the whole world be added as one. But that thou mayest know that Tifereth of the degree of Geburah is understood, know thou that the number being added to the whole is also contained in Isaac, which in like manner is of the classis of gold. The city of that king is called Pegno, brightness from its splendor, according to Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 2, which name and the name of Joseph, by which Joset is meant, have the same number 156. That you may know that argent vive is required to the work, and that the royal beauty doth not reside out of this splendid city. To this place belongs another surname, i.e. Elohim Kajim, Kajim as though it were called living gold, because Elohim and gold denote the same measure, but so this water is called, because it is the mother and principle of living gold. For all other kinds of gold are thought to be dead, this only excepted. Nor will you err if you shall attribute to it another special name. For it may be called Maker Majim Chajim, that is, a fountain of living water, for from this water the king is enlivened, that he may give life to all metals and living things. The kamia of this water is altogether wonderful, and exhibits in like manner the number chai, i.e. living, 18 times, the same sum in a magic square of 64 squares, which is the sum of mezahab, waters of gold, being variable after this manner to infinity. Editor's note: you will see in the video here another magic square, which contains the numbers that are being discussed right now. Here you have the sum 260 from the bottom to the top. From the right hand to the left and by the diagonal, the lesser number of 260 is 8, the number of Jesed, as also the root of the whole square is 8. The symbol of the first sum is 260, which makes the word sar, i.e. he went back, because in going forward, the sum always goes backwards through the units. For example, if you begin with 2, reckoning the first column for 8, the sum will be 268, which is resolved in 7. If you begin with 3, reckoning 8 for the second column, the sum will be 276, which resolves into 6, and so the rest. And so also the number of purifications increasing, the weight of thy water decreases. Chapter 8. Junah, a dove. Amongst the enigmas of natural things, the name of a dove is never applied to the metals themselves, but to the ministering and preparing forms of nature. He that understands here the nature of the burnt offering will not take turtles, but 2 young male pigeons, or sons of the dove, Leviticus chapter 1, verse 14, and chapter 12, verse 8, and chapter 14, verse 22. But count the word Beni 62, and 2 for a pair of doves, and then is the number 64 of the word Nogah, which is the name of the 5th amongst the planets. And you shall go the true way, else labor not to be rich, cease from thy own wisdom. Wilt thou cause thine eyes presently to discern it? That will not be. But the scholar of the wise men maketh to himself wings, and flieth as an eagle, even as he doth the minerals of the stars to heaven. Proverbs chapter 23, verses 4 and 5. Jirak, the moon, or Luna, in the history of natural things is called the medicine for the white, because she hath received a whitening splendor from the sun, which by a like shining illuminates and converts to her own nature all the earth, that is, the impure metals. In the place of Isaiah chapter 30, verse 26, the moon shall be as the sun, may be mystically understood of this, because the work being finished, she hath a solar splendor. But in this state the place of Canticles chapter 6, verse 10 belonged to her, fair as the moon. By the same name the matter of the work is called, and so indeed it is like to be the crescent moon in the first state of consistence, but like to the full moon in the last state of fluidity and purity. For the words Jirak, the moon, and Razia, secrets, and also Rabui, a multitude, have by gematria the same numbers, because in this matter are found the secrets of multiplication. Gophereth is sulfur. In the science of minerals, this principle is referred to Binah, to the left because of its color, and left also gold is wont to be referred, and charutz, a kind of gold, is also referred to Binah, and being 7 in its lesser number agrees with that of Gofritha. Therefore the gold of natural wisdom ought to be charuts, that is, digged out, or the like, not excocted. And this is that sulphur which hath a fiery color, and is penetrating and changing to impure earths, to wit, sulphur and salt. Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 23, sulphur with fire, rained down upon the wicked, that is impure metal. Psalm 106, verse 6. You must dig up this sulphur, and it is to be digged out of the water, that you mayest have fire obtained from water. And if your ways be right before the Lord, your iron shall swim upon the water. 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 6. Go thy way then to the river Jordan with Elisha. See verse 4. But who shall declare the Geburah of the Lord? Psalm 106, verse 2. Many seek other sulphurs, and he that hath entered the house of the paths shall understand them. Proverbs chapter 8, verse 2. For the sulphurs of gold and iron, the extraction thereof, is taught by many, and is easy. Also of gold, iron, and brass, also of gold, iron, copper, and antimony, which are gathered together after fulmination by vinegar out of the lixivium, which are changed into a red oil with a moist hydrargyrum, dew-tinged silver. For from Proverbs chapter 21, verse 20, we know there is a treasure to be desired, and also an oil to be found in the dwelling of a man of wisdom. The end. Thus concludes Book 13 of Ryan's audiobooks. AESCH MEZAREPH, or Purifying Fire. Translation by William Wynne Westcott. Next time I do this audiobook thing, I will start with a new book. Number 14. The Bridge Between Matter and Spirit is Matter Becoming Spirit. The Arcology of Paolo Soleri. By Paolo Soleri. I will see you then. Alam.